Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Carrie, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me on Coaching Call. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
So happy to have you. So you're about to be hit with a huge storm. Hopefully not, right?
Hopefully not.
We were talking about that. But, you know, the things is how do we adapt? How do we move forward with things? And how do we prepare when we know something is coming, right? It's kind of scary too.
Yeah, it can be scary. And it's just like anything, if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. So we've done our best to, get prepared as possible. And, we'll see what happens. It's just all about adapting and overcoming, obstacles as they come up. And hopefully we won't have too much, come our way, but we're prepared either way.
That's it. But, and in a way, preparing for a storm is almost like preparing for life, right?
It is. It is because, you never know what's going to happen. And a lot of it really depends on your attitude, and whether or not you're scared, you can be scared and still do things and still move forward,
Right.
And a lot of people that in my circles like to say that, fear is the same feeling as excitement in your body. So it's like you really just have to work on your mindset and how you approach things, and your attitude makes a huge difference, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a great attitude, man, you're doomed.
Exactly.
So, I know we're going to get into fitness, and they call you the fit mama, right?
Yes.
Before we get into all that, and even before you became a mom, let's talk about you as a child. Who would you say influenced you the most growing up?
I would say my parents, of course, and I have 3 older brothers. So I was always trying to keep up with them. They didn't really like that because I was the younger sister and the only girl. But I think that really built character in me because I would watch how they interacted with each other and with me. And I was always trying to keep up with them, impress them. And I really, it was important to me to be able to do the things that they could do, and I was always trying to keep up. So I think they really had a big influence on, how I am today, even in my training and my life, really.
Nice. So brothers, right? Who is the oldest, would you say?
Let's see. My brother Tim was the oldest. He was 6 years older than me. So that was quite a big difference. So he actually used to change my diapers when we were little.
Oh my goodness.
So, everybody helped out back then. So it was good.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right? I grew up with my oldest sister, and I think you're right. When you're in a family and it's kind of close knit, everybody helps each other, right?
Right. And that, even if, you're not getting along at the moment, if anything ever happened, that you had each other's back, right? Siblings don't always get along. I think it's a normal part of growing up. But we were always there for each other.
That's good. That's important. When we think about family, it's, and you're right. It does not matter if you it helps if you get along, but if you don't, in a tough situation, a lot of times family will pull through for one another.
Right. And sometimes it's, because you are so close, maybe something comes up that you aren't comfortable sharing. So it takes a little bit of courage sometimes to even share, what's going on. But
Right.
in my experience, I always found that, when I did share or ask for help, especially, that they were there. And it was, sometimes it surprised me. Not that
Mm.
I didn't think they'd be there, but it was like, oh, this is really a tough one. How are we going to figure this out?
Yeah, yeah. It's important for us to um, help one another, right? And
Right,
sometimes, we create a different family than the one we were born with. And I'm not talking about marriage or our own children, but we talk about family with the community that we can build, right?
right.
And you've built two families, if you will, right? A family of your own, you have children, and also a family of your community. Let's talk about when you were young, and you talked about your parents influencing you. Talk to me about your fitness goals when you were young. What did you do as far as sports wise or fitness wise?
Well, I think probably from the time I could walk, I was always tumbling. Everywhere I went,
Mm,
I was doing, tumbling or cartwheels or front handsprings or so I always
yes,
was active that way. I remember watching Nadia Comaneci in the Olympics and I was
oh my
really young
God.
and I said, "Oh, this is just so cool that she can do this and be young, one of the youngest there
Mhm,
and do so well." So that really inspired me at a young age. And I think around the same time I started doing acrobatics and with a lot of ballet moves in
mm,
it.
right,
Um, which was really important for my body at a young age. I actually wish I had kept up with that now. Um, when I was born, I was actually 7 weeks early, so I was a preemie,
mm,
and I didn't my hip sockets at the time, they had not formed yet, so they didn't
uh-huh,
find this out until I started to try to walk, but I actually didn't have any hip sockets, so we
wow,
had to work through that,
mm,
and I had leg braces and things like that. But the part that really helped me that I wish I kept up with was that ballet and the structure of that, helping to form my muscles and, keep everything strong and aligned where it should be.
yeah.
So, and after
Carrie, you can still go and partake in ballet.
yes, I
You
can.
know you can, right?
I can. Yes. I know.
Not
I
too
know. I'm
late.
just not as flexible as I used to be, so I'm always working on that.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah. And thank you for bringing that up because flexibility is a key factor to movement, right? For me, especially because I
Mhm.
move and I post every day on movement and all that stuff. So movement and flexibility, to me, they go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And right along with mobility,
Mm,
and your
yeah,
range of motion.
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure that you find in your training especially that you always work on your flexibility and
Oh,
moving your body.
daily,
Mhm.
daily.
Yeah.
Well, I teach martial arts, so every day, you know, either I'm stretching or I'm helping someone else stretch.
Right.
So,
Right, and I
that
find that I
flexibility
feel
is there.
better with movement. I'm sure you feel the same way. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes people say, "Oh, no pain, no gain." I don't think you should be in pain all the time.
No,
I don't think that's a normal part of training. When I actually get sore is when I haven't moved.
yeah.
So,
That statement, and I'm glad you brought that up, that statement of no pain, no gain, that's such a harmful statement because it gives the wrong message,
right.
right? And it shouldn't be that in order to have gain that you should be in pain.
Right,
That
and you
that
shouldn't
is
have to suffer.
absolutely wrong,
Mhm.
because when we think about an achievement should not be a painful event. It should be a joyful event, if anything, right? So
Absolutely.
that's such a bad statement when people say it. And, I've been guilty of saying it in the past, but then I'm like, wait a minute, what am I saying?
And when you really think about it, and your mind will catch you and say, "Wait a minute, I don't wanna be in pain. What am
Yeah.
I talking about?" Why has that become, why did that become a saying?
So that stops people from moving forward, if you will, because they're like, well, I don't want pain. So yeah, I'm not
Right,
going to
who would
work
choose
out.
that? Who would
Yeah.
choose pain?
Yeah. I'm not going
Or
to work
they
out
think if they're
because it's going
not
to be
in
painful.
pain, that they're not making progress, and
Yeah.
that's totally not true.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's the words we use that will determine what we wind up doing. Because if we believe that, huh, in order for me to attain that, I have to go through this pain. I don't want the pain.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that act. I'm not going to take that action. So
Well,
therefore, a lot of people are misunderstanding what some athletes and some people who've achieved a lot,
mhm.
because it's not that they mean it that way. I think it's because they've heard it over and over and over again. They believe it, right?
Right.
But that's not it. It's really not it. To me, when we achieve something, it's not painful. It is just joyful.
Right. Right. And it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard along the way
Of
because,
course.
anything worth it is not, just easy and doesn't just come to you.
Mhm.
It's you have to put in the work for sure. But I just think that, it can stop people because especially if they're new to working out or moving their body in a different way,
Mm.
if they get to that point where they're in so much pain, what do? They want to stop.
Right. Exactly.
So when I first started getting into fitness, my goal was to work out 1 to 3 days a week. And that's because of different reasons. One, because I was new to it and I wanted to, do it as best for my body as I could. And the other was, I was a new mom with little kids
Mm.
and married to a firefighter paramedic who, was on duty for 24 hours at a time every third day. So I didn't want to get in the position where, I stopped, like I failed, where they say, "Oh, you failed. You didn't go to the gym today," and just give up. So that's why I set it so that I worked out 1 to 3 days a week, and some days I hit 3 days, or some weeks I hit 3 days, and other weeks it was one,
Mm.
and I was okay with that. You have to give yourself grace. I just moved on and
Right.
said, "Okay, next week my goal is 3 days, and I'm
Mm.
going to do everything I can to hit it."
Yeah. And that's the important part, to understand where you are and the goals you set, right? Because
Right.
and I like the fact that you set to either 1 or 3, maybe sometimes you hit 2.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so when you set yourself up with something that if you fail, you feel like a failure, instead of saying, "Huh, I didn't do it this week." That's okay. There's
Right.
always next week, right?
Right.
So, yeah, don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success every single time you set any goals. And then you have to understand that, hey, you know what? Life does get in the way. Unfortunately, things happen, right? And they're out of your control, just like that storm that's coming. Out of
Exactly.
your control, but you have to deal with it, yeah, and you have to have a plan of action, and like I like your plan of action of saying 1 to 3, not every Tuesday and every Thursday or every,
Yeah, that
you
came later. That came later where it was in my calendar,
right, right.
but still you have to adapt, you
Yeah,
know.
even if it's in your calendar,
Mhm.
things come up and you go,
Right.
Not gonna make it today."
Yeah.
Now what? Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
it's not failure, it's just, I have to attend to other things, right?
Yeah, it's just what is your priority? Where
Mhm,
can you fit this in? If
right,
it's gonna happen, where is it going to fit? And
yeah,
what's not going to be in that spot,
right,
you know?
yeah,
Because it's just so important to take care of yourself. I have to be with myself. I'm the only one that gets to be with myself 24 hours a day, so
mhm.
I need to be happy.
Lucky you.
So
When we think about, and I like the fact that you brought it and you said you put it on your calendar, because a lot of people don't set their calendars. They don't set their days or their plans. I already know what I'm doing tomorrow. I know what I'm doing next week. I know what I'm doing next month. It's in my calendar. Now,
right.
don't get me wrong, things may change, things will come up. Um, you know, but if it's in my calendar, I set myself up for that success, for that knowledge of what I'm going to accomplish that particular day. And sometimes I accomplish way more than it's on my
Mhm.
calendar. It's because maybe I found a little extra time and say, I'm going to do
Mhm.
this, or I'm going to take an extra 10 minutes and do that. But
Right,
it's
and it
setting
makes
on
you
your
feel
calendar.
energized to get things, to get things done that are important to you. So that I think that fuels you to want to do more. So on those days that you feel that, you kind of run with that energy and accomplish more than you thought you were going to, or more than you planned on, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you went into gymnastics, right?
Hmm.
And you said dance, ballet.
Like acrobatics and gymnastics I did until I was
Mm.
11. And I also, when I was 7, I started playing soccer, and I really
Mm.
loved soccer. So that's my background as far as sports. I've played soccer all the way through high school.
Mm. Very cool. And so when did you, and you said you wore braces.
Hmm.
How long did you wear them for?
I want to say less than a year, but
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. And I also had these uh, special shoes I had to wear that had a bar in between each shoe
Right.
that I had to wear at night that kept my toes pointing out. And that
Mm.
actually pushed my femurs into where the hip socket would be so that
Mhm.
it formed around it. So that ended up working out, great. Luckily, my mom was a nurse and she was around a lot of doctors and stuff, and they noticed, when I was starting to try to stand up,
Mm.
that now they check babies for it. It's more prevalent in girls, but now they check you, male or female, when you're born for that
Yeah.
condition. But at the time, I think it was relatively new, even though
Mm.
quite a few people have had it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
was lucky that they found it early because.
Mm. Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking about the braces and all that stuff is because I had polio. So I
Mm,
actually lost my ability to walk. And then eventually I was able to walk, but then I was put into braces and I was in it for quite some time. And eventually I got out of those. And then I wore special shoes till I was about 12.
oh wow,
And yeah,
wow.
but that's why for me, working out movement, squats, legs, all that
Hmm.
is so, so important for me because, man, I lost that ability to be able to move. And I was like, what?
Right. Yeah, and you
That's not me.
realize you take things for granted, just
Hmm.
simple basic movements of walking,
Yeah.
and the, strengthening up your legs just creates that stability and a
Hmm.
strong foundation. So,
Yeah.
you
I work legs almost every day
hmm. Yeah,
just
yeah,
because, I appreciate them. And when you lose something is when you really appreciate what you had, right?
right, right. So, you and I might have a different perspective
Mhm.
than others who, you do take things for granted. It's normal. You think things are going to just continue on the same way they always have. So,
Yeah.
in my mindset and my vision for myself, it's to keep things moving and keep my range of motion so that I have it for a long time, because I
Mm.
had kids later in life and I want to be here to see all their milestones, right? And to
Right.
see, grandchildren and all that. And my kids are still relatively young. Um, so that's what fuels me is, knowing that I need to be here for a really long time.
Mhm.
Whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to be the strongest I can and do what I can to, to maintain my body and my mindset.
Great attitude. And that's what we all need, right?
Yeah.
To be there, not only for your kids, and I like that you're thinking that way, but then you're thinking even further for your grandkids,
Hmm. Yeah. I
right?
want to be able to play with my grandkids, and I
Yeah.
don't want to, I don't want to be like some people who aren't physically fit enough to play with their grandkids, get down on the floor and roll around and,
Mm.
and play,
Yeah.
because I think that's so important for their development and just, exploring their world at the level that they're at. And it's usually down on the floor at the beginning. So, you
Yes,
know,
indeed.
it's just something that's important to me and really what drives me.
Mhm. It's funny because my kids, when they were younger, I used to take them to the park, and I'd always chase them, run after them, up and down the monkey bars, all
Hmm.
over those swings and everything. And then sometimes I used to take their friends with us, and it'd be a bunch of us, and my kids would always go, "Dad, how come the other parents don't they go to the park and they just sit on the bench, but you
Right.
run with us.
Yeah.
You move, you you chase us, we have fun with you, we make believe in dragons, and you're chasing us and all this crazy stuff, and we love it. And one of my friends just said to me, your dad's the coolest. And because their parents, they figured, oh, you're a kid, you can run on your own, instead of like, hey, you know what, I was a kid, but for me, I'm still a kid. So
Right.
that sometimes I will take some of my younger students, we'll meet at the park, and I'll run and I'll still chase them.
Mhm.
And people like, watch out, Sifu's coming. They call me Sifu because it's Chinese martial arts. He's coming, he's going to
Right.
chase us. And it's, to me, I'm still a kid. So I'm not seeing myself like this man, people call me
Right.
man. I'm like, who are you talking to? I'm this
Yeah,
kid over here.
I've had similar experience at the park. I took my it was actually my friend's 2 boys who were younger than mine, so I had forgotten, how rambunctious they could be.
Right.
And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna be present and enjoy this."
Mm.
And, I had a new light because it was someone else's kids, but I had every kid on the playground playing with us, and the other parents were like, "Wow, you're in good shape. Wow, can I hire you?" Wow, I'm like, "Join us."
Yeah,
Who's having more
exactly.
fun, me or you?
Yeah.
I'm present in the moment and enjoying, the
Mhm.
fact that we can run around and play tag and hide and
Yeah.
just use our imagination. And it's to me, it's just so much more motivating than just sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carrie, you decided to start working out when you had your kids. At what point was it your first? And by the way, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Oh,
2 kids.
congrats.
Thank
So,
you.
at which kid did you decide that I'm going to start working out?
It was, let's see, it was after my first. I had worked out.
Hmm.
I did yoga and Pilates, but nothing, like I do now, not the strength training, as
Right.
hard as I do now. Um, but it was one of those things where I would go to the gym and I'd be motivated to, to lose every woman pretty much wants to lose 10 pounds. So I'd lose my 10 pounds, in 6 weeks. And the part that I had trouble with was continuing. I always thought that I got to my goal and it's over, I'm done. And it took me years to actually realize that it keeps going. This is a lifetime of, of setting new goals and striving for more. I always thought that, oh, I did this, so now I'm done. Now what do I do?
Mm.
Awesome. Do I have to keep doing this? I didn't, it took me a long time to make that connection that, and it was like a light bulb turned on. It's like finally realized that this is continuous. And, now it's time to set another goal. I always like to be, my husband jokes me, I always like to be training for something, whether it was climbing a mountain or just have some type of end goal, or some place where I was going to be, and that would be the end of my goal. But now I realize, okay, it's continuing on and
Yeah,
keeping up with that.
that's important, right? To continue that I
Hmm.
guess that pursuit, right?
Right. Right. And
To the
because I would
fitness.
get bored with the gym, I would go and I would have my lists and I'd do everything that I had planned out and I would do it and I would put in the work, but it wasn't sustainable because one, I didn't love it. And I think that's so important is to find something that you love. I don't
Mhm.
care if it's, jumping on a rebounder. I don't care if it's dancing or whatever it is that makes you smile and that you love, you're going to continue to do.
Yeah. When we think about, I like the fact that you talked about the rebounder. Have you ever seen those videos with the rebounders? They're so incredibly not
Yes,
only
with the
funny, but
crazy
look like
jumping and
fun.
I know.
They look like so much fun. And then somebody says, that looks dangerous. I'm like, because you don't want a challenge. That's why.
Right. Yeah.
You
How can
have
it be
to take
dangerous?
a
It's so
challenge.
soft. Now, the big trampolines in your backyard, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
I'd be trying to do flips on that. Oh.
That because I was a gymnast myself, so yes, I love trampolines. I can't help but flip, when
Yeah,
I
that
get
was
on
one of
it.
my favorites. Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
trampoline.
absolutely. Yeah. So you decided after your first one to make it different because you talked about you did Pilates,
Mhm.
right? And you did yoga,
Mhm.
but you added strength training? What prompted you to do that?
Well, I think what prompted me was I gained 50 pounds when
Mm,
I was pregnant. And,
right.
the first, 15, 20 pounds comes off pretty easy. Um, but then I was just, now I was having, not only was I still overweight, after a while, it was quite a while, and I had no energy. And
Mm,
I think that's really where I said, okay, something's got to change because
mhm,
I need to be able to go out and go about my day and be able to handle life. It was just like
right.
keeping up with myself and a new baby. And I finally said, okay, something has gotta change. And that was all that I knew to do, to get stronger, was to focus on it
Mm,
and make it a priority.
right. Yeah. But a lot of people who think they need to lose weight, they're thinking cardio.
Hmm.
What, why didn't you think just cardio? That I'm going to lose this baby weight, if you will,
The
and just
honest
do
reason
cardio.
is because I get bored to tears.
Ah,
I can't just be on a treadmill. I just can't.
mhm,
I like variety, and I know
mhm,
that about myself.
right,
So, and I like to have, some structure where I would do some cardio, but I would do my weights first,
right,
and then I would do 15, 20 minutes of cardio.
nice.
Or I would do a class where the
Mhm,
cardio was kind of built in.
right,
You did weights and, got your heart rate up at the same time.
mhm.
So it's really just about finding what works for you and what you enjoy.
Yeah. One of the things that I agree with you as far as being on a treadmill is boring, but there are so many different ways to get your cardio in.
Hmm.
Jump roping,
Right. And I loved
running,
biking. I enjoyed
yeah,
biking because I liked being
hiking,
outside. So I
yeah,
would go bike, you know, I'd
yeah,
go 20 miles on the weekends and,
mhm,
just to get outside and be in the fresh air and, with my friends. I like working out around people.
mhm,
So, everybody's different. There's
that's right,
different exercise types, as I call them. There's people that just like to, the lone wolf that just likes to exercise by themselves. They'll go run, or
right,
and just do their workout and don't need anyone around. I like to have people around. I'm a little
mhm,
more social. Not
right,
that I'm talking, but even if they're not talking to me or interacting with me at all, I just like that they're around, my area.
nice,
So
nice.
it's just a different personality.
Yeah, yeah, and, I do definitely agree that, including, weight training with your cardio is probably the best rounded fitness that you can ever do, because if you only do one or the other,
Mhm.
there's an aspect that's missing, right?
Right.
Because if you see these people who are like huge, like big bodybuilders, but they can't run like
No.
4 blocks without huffing and puffing, that's not fitness. That's not, you may look in shape, but to
Right.
me, I think being in shape is being able to move. And like I
Right.
said, movement is everything for me.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And my final goal is to be healthy. It's
Mm,
not to look good. It's
right.
not, to be fit. It's to be healthy and to be able to keep up. It's always been about keeping up, with whatever's going on in my life and just being healthy.
Yeah. But here's the benefit to that being healthy. You're gonna look good.
Right. And that's an added bonus that comes along for free.
That is a huge bonus. But you know what? Here's the oh my gosh. Being fit is great. Being healthy is everything, right?
Mhm.
And the other benefits is that your mental state also takes I guess a step up, if you will, right? You're leveling up your mental state if you're healthy, because
Right.
you don't have to think about, oh, what pills do I have to take, or all
Hmm.
these different doctors, or all this different things that you have to do because you are not healthy. But the minute you become healthy, man, that's the world changed.
Hmm.
Not only, your physical aspects of it, but your mental aspects, because you have a clearer mind. You're sharp. To me, when you're healthy, when you're fit, man, you are sharper,
Right.
you know?
Right. And I think you may agree or disagree with me, but I think it starts with something as simple as a mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're not healthy now, but if you say, I'm just going to shift so that I'm going to be healthy. I am healthy, so I'm moving in that direction.
Yeah.
And it's so important to tie that, the mind into it always.
Yeah.
I mentioned I am married to a, firefighter paramedic. So when I got pregnant, um, I told him, I said I wanted to have a natural childbirth
Mm-hmm.
without any drugs. And he goes, "You're crazy." He says, you have like no pain tolerance. You have no pain tolerance. I said, "I know. I get a paper cut and I'm miserable for 3 days." I said, "But I'm going to figure this out because I really don't feel comfortable with, a needle near my spine or, or drugs or not having control of my
Mm.
own body. So I'm going to figure this out." So I did. And, I had a wonderful, childbirth, two of them, natural. But
Mm.
what made the difference was um, I used hypnobirthing, which is all about repetition, meditation, and your
Right.
mindset
Yeah.
and trusting your body.
Mm.
Trusting that your body is designed to have children, to run, to walk, to play, whatever it is. You first need to believe in yourself and
Right.
have faith in yourself that you can do it.
Absolutely.
And that was the key. If I had gone into that doubting
Mm.
mode, or afraid, yeah, it would have hurt. Yeah, it wouldn't have gone the way I thought I wanted it.
Not at
But
all.
I
Not at
I
all.
just had to give it up and trust and
Yeah.
and believe that it was possible.
You you put a thought in my head. Cave people, cave women, cave
Mhm.
men did not have epidurals.
No, they
They
didn't.
didn't even have a
And they were
hospital
busy,
room. They
right?
delivered they delivered in a cave, right?
Mhm.
So when we think about, medicine has come a long way. The fact that babies were dying back in the day before doctors realized that they had to wash their hands, right,
Mhm.
in order to deliver. So all these different, not only just common sense things, but technology has come along. But you're right. Women were built to be able to deliver
Mhm.
and without any of these other things. And it's you're right when it comes to the mindset. And I agree with the mindset, because if your mind is not correct, how can you possibly say I want to be healthy? Your mind has to be willing and ready to take on that challenge of movement, of doing the things that are going to get you to a healthy state, not only physically but mentally. So yeah, your
Absolutely.
mind is huge.
Absolutely. And I just kept thinking about, like you said, you mentioned the cave people, they just gave birth. Or you think of a woman, in the rice paddies, just, she's working, just gives birth. But I kept coming back to an image of just a horse
Mm,
giving birth. And
right.
that was my anchor image. Actually had a picture of a horse
Mm,
up in the delivery room because
nice.
I'm like, they just have their baby.
That's it.
They're not screaming, they're not in pain.
Yeah.
The baby just happens when it's ready. It's a natural thing.
Mm,
So
mm,
I just kept tying into that image, and just the common sense that, we were put on this earth and we've been doing this for a really long time.
for
What has
sure. Huh?
changed?
Hmm.
Our mindset.
When we think about, and I love that image that you put, and you put it in the birthing room too, to remind yourself to have that image to it's a beautiful thing that you went through, and that when a horse gives birth to its babies, if you will,
Hmm.
it's just natural, right? But the other thing that I always question is, if we were all still in, I guess, caveman times, would we be in shape? If we were not, can we outrun those dangers coming at us, right? So being in shape was life or death.
Yeah, we would all be in shape or we wouldn't exist for long, right?
Correct, correct. Because
That would be
you
it.
had to
You'd be taking
run. But here's the thing, right? It's not like you can go to the supermarket back in the day. You couldn't do that. You had to run for your food, or you had to run not to be the food. Either one, you still had to move, right? I think I lost you for a little bit. I think maybe your connection went out. And it could be because you're having high winds over there by you. So I will hang out and, talk about being in shape and caveman workouts. One of the things that I've always considered is how would a caveman workout be? How people would handle that? I mean, can you imagine running not because it was fun, but because it was dangerous if you didn't? So imagine you start at one end and all of a sudden you're running and it's whatever's chasing you is getting closer and closer. And you can't say, I'm tired, I'm done. No. When you say I'm tired, I'm done, you're going to be someone's meal or something's meal or being trampled or who knows what. So where does that adrenaline pick up? When you think you're going to be exhausted, but you have no choice but to continue or perish, right? So that's the whole thing that has happened, where we don't have that fear anymore of being fit. Because back in the day, you had no choice. By the way, I want everybody to know that we did lose Kerry. She lost her connection. So I'm just talking, holding on the stage, and hope that she can regain and come back. Otherwise, we will just have to revisit this another time. But so let's consider that, right? Hey, Kerry, you're back.
But
You are back. I was talking about cave people,
I
and
We're still talking.
you were still talking. But here's the thing, right? I brought it to the impact of, imagine if we had like caveman games, if you will, right?
Mhm.
Where you actually had to run, and you're running, but what's happening is that if you think, oh, I can stop, I can slow down, but you can't, because whatever's chasing you is either going to eat you or trample you. So where does that pick up? How do you continue when you want to quit? And we did that when we were cave people because of fear of death, right? But we don't do that anymore. We don't have that fear in us. We're like, yeah, I'm not going to go today. I'm not going to work out today, or I'm not going to do it. And it's not because of fear. It's just because, like, I'm going to go watch a TV show, or I'm going to, instead of, going home and preparing my meal, I'm just going to go to I'm going to make it quick. I'm going to go to the drive by, and I'm going to get the quickest thing or whatever sounds good, instead of really, really preparing the meal. Because every time you go to a quick place to get a meal, it's almost like you're quitting. You're
Right.
quitting on the opportunity to live a better life.
Right. And it's not just about the meal, it's about the pre-meal, right? You
Mm,
spending that time, when we were kids growing up, you came home and for dinner and the whole house smelled like dinner.
yeah.
It's and
Yeah.
that starts your digestive process. A lot of
Hmm.
people have cut that out by grabbing something quick, eating in front of the TV, and or not preparing, their own food. And you know, the reason that they do that is because it's more comfortable.
Hmm.
They're comfortable not having to put that effort in.
Yeah.
And
I
I don't particularly like running, but I do it. We have workouts and we do running. I do CrossFit now, but we do running. And when I get to that point, like you were saying, where I want to just stop and quit.
mm,
I think, okay, I dig in and I go, okay, why are you doing this? It's
mm,
for my kids,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
And when it gets really hard, when I really have to dig deep is when I think someone just grabbed my child and ran off, or the house is on fire and I got to
mm,
grab my child and run as fast as I can. And that's where I can make that connection again to get into that space where, okay, I'm going to push as hard as I can. at this
Yeah.
moment because this is why it's important.
Yeah. I love that, and I'm gonna call those triggers, right? Because that
Mhm.
triggers you into a different mindset. Because a second ago you had the quitting mindset, and
Mhm.
you said,
Right.
"Wait a minute,
Where
I
he's
need
like,
a
"Why don't I just
trigger.
stop?"
I need a trigger to take me further.
Mhm.
What's my why? What's my
Mhm.
purpose?" Right?
Yeah. And if it's, maybe like for you, if you're training for something special, what's the end goal? Because
Mm,
it can get very painful in that moment, right?
yeah.
It can get very, very difficult to keep doing what you're doing. And, when it gets hard, you want to stop. Your body
Hmm.
wants to be comfortable. Your
Oh,
body loves
absolutely.
homeostasis. It wants to
Oh,
stay the same. It
absolutely.
doesn't like it when you try to change. And it
Without
bites you
doubt.
sometimes.
People like to be comfortable.
Hmm.
Nobody likes to be uncomfortable.
Right.
Right? And sometimes, in order to achieve something, you have to go through that uncomfortable stage. You
Right.
have to. There is no other way. I mean, I wish there was, don't you?
Oh,
Where we're
yeah. Yeah.
comfortable all day long.
But if it was, I wouldn't really appreciate it because I'd
Yeah,
have it all. I'd have it, and so would
yeah,
everybody else. You
yeah.
know, I just treat it as like a wave, and even like I treat it like, okay, it's gonna get really tough, and I'm not gonna like this, but it'll come back. It's
Mm,
gonna come back down. It's gonna come
yeah,
back down to
yeah.
normalcy.
I mean, imagine if everything in the world was colored blue. How
Yeah,
boring. How
yeah, it would
boring,
be.
right? Right? And
Hmm.
look at all the different colors that we can share, enjoy. And some people, they they associate more with a particular color, right?
Hmm.
So, like some people love purple, some people love green, some people love yellow, some people love red. And when you ask someone if you had to associate yourself with a color, what color would it be? So I'm going to ask you, Carrie, what color would you associate yourself with?
Mine would be blue. I'm wearing
Nice.
my favorite color now.
There you go.
But
There you
because I just love the color of the ocean,
go.
and to me blue is very calming,
Right.
and it just kind of grounds me. I just it makes me happy even though it's
Yeah,
you know
absolutely. That's one of the colors I tell people to associate when they meditate.
hmm
When I was a kid, I used to love red. I still love red. It's a beautiful, beautiful
hmm
color. But black, and I know people say it's not a color, but to me, it's the best color in the world. um, because when we think of colors, it's those things that make us happy, right? So red is
hmm
fire, red is action, and I
yes.
think that's my passion, right? I'm always action oriented, and then black is like calm.
Hmm.
It is dark.
It's very versatile though.
Yeah, it
It could
is.
be any mood, any energy,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. And blue, and the colors I also think that are very calming. Besides blue, it's yellow and green.
Hmm.
Are very calming. But blue, I think, is the winner for calm. You know,
Right. Right. And for meditation, it's really a great color
oh, it's huge.
because
So
it's
tell
calming.
me, Carrie, you decided after your first child to take on fitness in a different way, and now you told me you're doing CrossFit as well.
Hmm.
What motivated you to eventually say, and that's where you got that name, I believe, is because you kept doing all these different fitness things that they call you
Hmm.
Fit Mama, right?
Yeah.
And what motivated you to start helping other people get fit?
I think just naturally people gravitated towards me because they
Mm,
would see what I was doing, and they knew I had a lot going on, but I still, you know, took care of my body and my health and was making progress.
mm,
They would look at me, I think, and say, "How come she's making progress and I'm not?" Or,
right.
"What is she doing that's different?" So I think that just made them naturally curious to
Mhm,
find out, what's different about her. And it's not really that anything's different, it's just what are your priorities?
right.
And what's important to you. So I
Mhm,
I just found that, people just were continually asking me, for advice, and I love helping people. So it was just a natural flow, natural
nice.
segue.
Yeah, that is beautiful. When we can associate with what we're doing and then turn around and say, huh, I can help someone.
Mhm.
I can
It's
help
like I
someone.
figured it out, so,
Yeah.
why not share? It's like,
And
why
you
let
know,
them struggle?
yeah, and that's where experience comes in, right? Because who do you want to have helping you? Someone with the experience or somebody with book experience, right? You
Right.
know, I love people who read books because I love reading books,
Mm,
but without getting out there and doing it. Look, you can read a book on fitness all day long, all night long,
mhm.
day in, day out. But unless you actually do the fitness aspects of what's in the book, you'll have no knowledge of it,
Right.
you know.
Right. It's practicing, right? And
Yeah.
and going through the motions.
Hmm. So who would you say, I know Fit Mama makes me think that maybe you only train women, but do you also help men?
I also help men. But mostly I train women, I will be honest, but I also help men. I Since I grew up with 3 brothers, I think I'm very comfortable,
Mm,
around men.
right.
Um, so either one, but I think I understand them from a different level though, because I was the only girl, and that's just, a comfortable environment for me, and, as far as personalities and just getting along and understanding where they're coming from.
Mhm, mhm. When we think about fitness, right? When we think about, wow, I'm out of shape. I need to lose. I just went to the doctor, and I know the doctor's been telling me for the past year and a half, oh, you've been gaining a little weight. Oh, you've gotten up 10 pounds since the last time you were here. Oh, and then all of a sudden, hey, you know what? Remember a year ago when I told you you were up 20 pounds? Well, from a year ago, you're up 40. So that would be quite a difference in your body. This is why you're
Mhm.
on this medication. This is why you're on that. And I know most doctors don't always say that,
Mhm.
but I think the really good doctors do. And they would start to say, you need to start looking at your health because the medications you're on is because of your weight. It's not
Mhm.
because of your age. It's because of your activities, your food intake. What are you eating? How are you eating? How often are you eating? How are you drinking enough? And I'm not talking alcohol. I'm talking about, food and
The basics.
the,
Mhm.
the waters. And a lot of people say, yeah, I drink plenty. So what do you drink? Well, let me see. I have orange juice with my breakfast. I have an apple juice later on. Maybe I'll have some cranberry juice.
And don't
And
forget
then,
coffee.
yeah, coffee, but not only coffee. I have coffee with cream, and then I put sugar. And then, so all of a sudden, they are drinking, but they're not drinking for their health.
Right.
They're drinking to drink, and they're drinking because we have been fooled because all the big companies have done a million tests. They spend millions and probably billions of dollars by now figuring out our taste buds. What's
Mhm.
going to stimulate them? So, is it the front of the tongue, the middle of the tongue, the back of the tongue, the right side, the left side? Those are huge studies that have been done by companies, food
Mhm.
companies, potato chip companies. You can't
Yeah,
just have one potato chip, right? They even
mhm.
put that in their slogan. You can't just have one,
No,
but
because they've scientifically engineered it and did the research
correct.
that your brain wants more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also all the taste buds. And so
Mhm.
we've been fooled. Back in the day, when those milk commercials used to come out, and they said, milk does a body good. And then when they did a lot more research, they had to pull those commercials. You don't have those commercials
Yeah.
anymore because milk does not necessarily do a body good,
No.
because of all the chemicals that are being put in milk.
Mhm.
If you take the milk directly from the cow, that's way better than any
Right.
milk that you buy in the supermarket.
Mhm.
So it's the advertisements. It's everything that's trying to tell us that you're doing good. And if you go and you people are going to hate me for this, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. If you go, yeah, I'm going to have a Diet Coke with that. I'm like, really? A Diet Coke? Why not just have water? It's because they want the flavoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about flavoring, if you curb yourself enough from all these things and just go all natural, right? Cave
Mm-hmm.
people, they didn't have soda. They didn't have orange juice, right? Maybe they had oranges,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't
Seasonally,
processed,
not
right?
every day of the year.
No, it wasn't processed either, right?
Right.
And so if we go old caveman, cavewoman style, will we live healthier? Will we be healthier? Because what are you drinking is going to affect you. You may be eating really well, you eating vegetables and all this stuff, but if you're still having a Diet Coke with your salad,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
think people don't realize, especially with the liquids that they drink, they don't realize that those are still just calories and
Mm,
sugar. And, they don't, and a lot of times when you ask them, what are you eating? They don't really count the calories in their beverages, I find. They just
right.
think of, oh, well, that I was thirsty. They don't know,
Mm,
oh, that had 600 or 900 calories or, 50 grams or more of sugar.
yeah,
That it makes a
exactly.
difference what you choose. And a lot of
Hmm.
people can lose weight just by cutting out those types of drinks,
Right, right.
especially if that's their daily, go to.
Hmm.
That's one quick change that they can make to
Yeah,
their day. Start phasing those out and choose
right.
water
Yeah.
or
And
something that'll
in
nourish you.
a good way to start to phase them out, like everybody who does sports think they need to drink those sports drinks. Why?
Mhm.
Guess what? You watch a football game, what do they have? They have sports drinks that they
Right.
show them drinking it, all this stuff. Oh, that's an athlete. I should drink like them. But you know what? If you want to really take a look at your sports drinks, look at the sugar content and the salt content
Right.
in those drinks. And then if you want to start slowly, look, I'm not saying you're wrong for doing it. I'm just saying let's evaluate it and maybe
Mhm.
slowly wean yourself off of it and water it down. So maybe if you take, the one with the G on it,
Mhm.
you take half of the bottle and you empty it and you fill the rest of it with water, you've now diluted it. Half of that sugar is
Right.
gone. And then
Right.
you take
And
the other half and you have that with half water. I'm not saying throw it out, I'm just put it aside. And then
mhm.
slowly you go to 3/4, and then eventually it's just like a little dab, just if you still
Mhm.
need that flavoring. But to me, even for salads, people are like, "You don't want dressing on that?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." They're like, "You're weird." I said, "No, I'm tasting my food. That's the
Yeah.
difference." You
The
know,
best dressing is lemon juice to me. I just
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I was a big coffee person.
Mm,
And, I usually drank it black, but I liked the coffee and I got to the point where I started drinking it when I was 16. I lived in Brazil for a year, so you
mm,
can't not drink
right,
coffee.
right.
So I gave it up about maybe a year or two ago now, and I feel so much better because I
Mm.
wake up and it was like, wow, I'm just awake. I don't feel like let me get my coffee and then I'll be awake. I didn't feel like run down and groggy. And
Mm,
now I drink other things with herbs and stuff in it, and not coffee per se,
yeah,
because my body just really didn't like it, and it
mm.
likes it much better now that I've taken that out. And
Yeah,
it was a big realization for me to be like, this is what you're supposed to feel like. It took, and I did the same thing. I had to wean it out slowly, and it was more getting rid of the habit of it
mm, yeah.
than
You know,
anything.
I'm Colombian, so I've given up. I think the longest I gave up coffee for was 7 years, and then I went back to it, and then I used to do cream and and I used to do a lot when I was young. I used to do tons of sugar, and people like, you want some coffee with that sugar, you know. And then I weaned off the sugar, and then people started saying to me, "You want some coffee with that creamer?" And now, now I just have it black. But I do enjoy it, and it's not where it's going to be detrimental to me. But coffee could be good for
Mhm.
you, but if it doesn't resonate with your body, then
Right.
you should
And
not.
I had gotten to that point where my body was just not having it anymore.
Hmm.
It was
Right,
not performing the way I wanted to and
right.
just was not happy. So I had to make a change. So I did.
Yeah.
I
And even
never
when I
thought
was
I would give
younger,
up coffee ever. Never.
yeah. When I was younger, I used to have like iced tea, but it had to
Mhm.
be sweet. And then if
Mm,
I had hot tea, it had to be sweet and with a creamer. And people like, "Well, that's you're drinking tea? It doesn't look like tea anymore." I'm like, "Yeah." But so once I realized, and now I just have, I have I love green tea, and I have it with no cream, no sugar or anything.
right.
And people like, "Oh, you're drinking tea." Yes, I am drinking tea. Like it was meant to be
Mhm.
drank.
Right. Yeah, and I like to do it iced sometimes too,
Yeah, yeah.
especially tea.
Mhm,
I
yeah.
just like it iced, but I'm in Florida, so it's different here.
Yes.
It's a little
You
warm.
know, I love hot beverages all year long. Even in the summertime, I'll have a hot coffee,
Mhm.
hot tea, and people like, "Don't you want it iced?" I'm like, "I'm good." Like, yeah, that's a strange guy over there. So you decided to start helping people. So if let's say I am um, either a mom who just gave birth, maybe I'm 2 months out, and I want to come and I feel like I put on so much weight, water weight in the beginning, and then it was just like, oh man, craving, that craving weight. I want
Mhm.
this, I want that, and women um, go through the crazy cravings. I know because my dad told me, and my mom told me. My mom was crazy when I'm number 10 of 12, so
Oh
can
my
you
gosh.
imagine, right?
No, I can't.
I was the first one born in the hospital, so you can imagine my mom had 9 before at home. But my dad told me that my mom would make him go, and we lived in a big farm, make him go and steal a chicken from the neighbor, not even our own. It could not be our own chicken. She was nuts.
She wanted the forbidden chicken.
That's correct. She wanted the forbidden chicken, and then he would have to cook it for her. And crazy when you think of it, it's like, but we have chickens. Lady, we have chickens. Woman, we have chicken. No, it cannot be that chicken.
It's like we have ice cream in the freezer. No, you have to go get this kind that I want right
Yes,
now.
that's it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny though.
So with that in mind, right, when someone comes to you and they want to, if you will, go through that transformation of where they are to where they kind of envision themselves. And some people who go through a transformation don't really see their end result, as you talked
Mhm.
earlier. How do you help them? What's the first things that you want to start doing with them?
I would say to start simple,
Mm,
and it's on things like, say they don't exercise at all, or they don't eat very healthy. I would start with, drinking water and
mm,
walking,
yeah,
just moving your body. And if they don't want to walk, do they have a favorite song they can put on in the morning that energizes them that they could dance to? Just
mm,
something simple
right,
just to establish that habit and that daily routine and just to get them moving. And then it's, working on that mind body connection. So how do you feel after you've been doing that? Do you have more energy at the beginning? Maybe you have less energy, but can you keep it up and just, continue to check in with your body and your mind and see
yeah,
how does this make me feel, and check in, because I think that's important. It's not just losing the weight. That's the end
mhm,
goal. It's, appreciating the steps along the way
yeah,
and rewarding yourself for the little steps, because you're doing it, you're making progress, and it can be very hard to see, until you start to dig a little bit and they say, "Oh yeah, I do feel better. I feel like I have more energy. Yeah, I've been able to play with my kids and I'm not tired. I come up the stairs and I'm not out of breath."
yeah,
So it's just starting slowly and just getting them in tune with their body and how it's feeling and just listening, to their body. I talk a lot about listening to your body.
Mm. Yeah, and you have to listen to your body. And I like the fact that you said is like if you have stairs, go up and down a couple of times,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people go, yeah, I go for a walk with my dog.
Hmm.
Okay, cool, that's awesome. But what is the pace like?
Right.
Right? So maybe
Right.
pick up the pace. Or, you know what? Maybe because your body has become so accustomed to you walking your dog, your body is not gonna adapt. It's
Hmm.
already adapted, I should
Right.
say. It needs a change. So if you do have
Right.
stairs at home, walk your dog and then come and go up and down the stairs 5 times, 3
Right.
times, 2
Hmm.
times.
And I used the stairs a lot during
Yeah,
COVID when the gym was closed.
yeah.
But for workouts, I'd put my weight vest on and go up and down the stairs with my son. And but I had a client recently who told me, I said, you're walking and it's great and you're losing weight and you're feeling awesome, but it's time to mix it up, just like you're saying.
Mhm.
And I said, why don't you walk for a while, get warmed up and do some squats? You don't have to go crazy. Do 10 squats, 5, 10 squats, whatever you feel is right. And she says, well, I can't squat. And I happened to be with her in person at the time. And I said, oh, I said, well, can you sit down? She says, yeah, of course I can sit down. I said, well, there's a bench. So I want you to go over there and sit down and get up, 10 to 15 times. And she's like, oh, she's like, I
Yeah.
can squat. And it's really just that shift and
Mhm.
realizing what your body is capable of.
Right.
Your mind tells you certain things and sometimes you got to question it and assert yourself a little bit because you
Yeah,
do need to change and do something different because your body will adapt.
yeah. I love the fact that you showed her that she was not necessarily thinking. She had to think outside the box, if you will,
Mhm.
because the mind shift that you helped her understand, right? And that's what it is. I think that a lot of people don't realize how capable they are.
Mhm.
They don't have the faith, and faith, it comes in so many ways. It could be having faith in yourself, having faith in God, having faith in your children that they're going to do the right thing, having faith in your neighbor that they're going to be doing the right thing. Also, like, depends on your neighbors, right?
Right.
Having faith is an important part, because if you're driving in a double yellow line, you have to have faith that the person coming to you from the other side is gonna
Mm.
stay on their side of the line. And, people don't realize that every day that you drive anywhere and there's oncoming traffic and you're driving on your side, they're driving on their side, that's faith right there,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
and hope.
Mhm.
Hope they don't lose it, right?
And this morning when it was pouring down rain and I could hardly see the road,
Yeah, yeah,
I had to slow down.
that's
And,
it,
and in life sometimes you have to slow down to make progress. So,
that's it.
and that's okay, you know.
Yeah. I just took a very long drive, and on my way home from my long drive, it was beautiful and sunny. And then I hit another area and it started coming down.
Mm.
And then it came down so bad. It's like, if you don't slow down, you can't go at the same speed you were going. You're gonna die, right?
Mhm.
And so you slow down, and then all of a sudden you drive through another area and it's sunny again. It's like, okay, so we can speed up again. And so it was slow down, and like you said, it to make that progress, to get back up. And sometimes that slowdown may be, hey, I can't hit the gym today, but
Mhm.
maybe I can't, drive 10 minutes or 5 minutes or however long it takes to get to the gym. But maybe because you only have 10 minutes, maybe you go outside and walk around for 10
Mhm.
minutes, and whatever, a lot of people who claim they don't have time,
They do.
because 5 minutes, you can do so much in 5 minutes.
You really can, and I think
Oh my
people don't
gosh.
realize that.
Yeah. So the I don't have time is just, it's a myth.
Yeah, it's like start with 5 minutes, set a timer and just do
Yeah.
something for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's 2 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
even say just, put your sneakers on and go to the gym and sit there. You don't even have to go in. If that's your
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
step,
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
Whatever it takes for you to get there and to
Hmm.
get to the point where you go, okay, now I can do a little bit more.
Right.
If you need to ease into it, absolutely. I
Yeah.
definitely recommend easing
Yeah.
into it, because if you don't ease in and listen to your body, you're going to be in pain. You're going to be too sore or too tired, and you're going to
Hmm.
want to stop.
Right.
And you just, you know, take little steps to move forward. Doesn't matter how small. Bless you. You sneeze. But
I know. I put my mic. I muted my
good
mic.
catch.
It's so important for us to realize that if it takes 1 minute to get to the gym because you got in your car, you drove a minute, and you got out of your car. Wow. Wait a minute. It only took a minute to drive there. How long would it take you to walk there? Could it be
Hmm.
5 minutes? Because the car is going to go pretty fast, right? So what if it took you 5 minutes to get to the gym? And that's it. And maybe you walk back. So now you just walk 10 minutes. There you go.
Right. And how many minutes are in a day? I mean,
Right.
you
Right.
can find the time somewhere in
You
there.
can find the time. It's just, it's lying to yourself. And for everyone who ever says, I had no time to practice, I had no time to do this, I had no time to prepare my meal. Hey, look, maybe when you get up, you do a couple of little things of prep. Maybe you cut up those carrots and put them
Hmm.
aside, and then go do whatever. And then, you take another minute and you come up and you do something else. And so maybe it would have taken you half hour, but you only took a minute to do one thing, another minute here,
Hmm.
another minute there. And so you've taken out 15 minutes of that half hour along the way, and then you take the last 15 minutes and you finish that prep if you have to, and then you cook that meal. Because driving to the drive-through, ordering meal number whatever, right? Because now you can order in numbers, I think.
Yes, I
um,
think so.
and that is just, every time, if you can think this way, and this is a thought I would love for everybody to think. Every time you drive through a drive-through, it's just putting one nail on your coffin. And
Mm-hmm.
every time you make your own food, it's taking the nail off the coffin.
Hmm.
How would that change your life?
Oh, that would be incredible. And think of all the money you would save not going to, out to eat all the time.
Right?
People say it's inexpensive to go to the drive-through. Not when I go, because I don't want what they have for a dollar.
Yeah.
Because I want something else. I want something else. I
Yeah,
never want what's on
exactly.
sale.
Yeah.
And I try not to go to drive-throughs. I haven't, I'm just not in that habit anymore, which is great. And I never
Mhm.
really was a lot,
Right.
but sometimes it's convenient. It's
Right.
so if it's the convenience you want, make it easy on yourself by preparing a few things ahead of
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Have food in the house.
Yeah.
Eat something that has one ingredient in it.
Yeah.
That's a whole food, a natural food.
Right. Like
Less
apple.
ingredients. Yes, the less less ingredients, the better, right?
Yeah. And, a lot of people think that, yeah, I'm going to watch a show, a movie, whatever, and I'm just going to have a little bit of chips, a little bit of this.
Mm.
Why don't you make it a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of, something healthy? So it's the steps that we take, right? And don't get me wrong, you know what? If you want to have a couple of chips, have a couple of chips. You have some popcorn, have some popcorn. You have some ice cream, have some ice cream. But don't make it an everyday event.
Right.
If you don't have it in the house, it's going to be hard to get, because if you're watching something, you're like, huh, I want chips. You go to the kitchen, there are no chips. What else can I substitute? But if the chips are there is no substitution. That's what you're going for,
Hmm.
right?
Right. And usually you're wanting something because, your previous meal you were lacking.
Yeah.
If you loaded up on, vegetables and things that had more volume and more nutrition to them, you may
Mhm.
not be craving those, those items.
Right. So, Kerry, tell me, you wrote a book.
I
Tell me
did.
about that.
I
I
did.
wanna know.
I did. So I wrote a book. It's called the 31-Day Workout Challenge. And the
Mm,
reason I wrote it, it actually started out as an email campaign. Um, During COVID, when the gyms were closed
mhm,
and everyone was trying to work out at home or just sitting around. I'm not sure what a lot of people did, but I wanted to work out, right?
right.
And I came up with workouts because I figured, well, everybody must be having the same problem. They don't know what to do, they don't have equipment at home. So I came up
Mm,
with a bunch of body weight workouts. But what inspired me to do so was actually my son's counselor at his school. When they were virtually schooling at home, um, one Friday she sent out one of these workouts that's got the letters to it. You pick a letter and you do whatever it says for that letter. And she said, here, kids, I want to inspire you and I want to have you do this workout so you can be moving your body. So like her intention was great. So you pick a word, she says, and then do the workout. Well, guess what word she picked? She picked the word tired. I'm
really?
like, I understand it's Friday and we're all going through a lot. And what, but why would you pick the word tired? Right. So I
Mm,
wrote a book that has what I call power words. So they're like
nice.
amazing, strong, beautiful, courageous, words like that, that will actually inspire you while you're doing the workout. So
And
I
empower you as well, yeah.
empower you. Yeah. So I set it up as an email blast to go out every day.
Mm,
You get your workout. Well, I had people that were like, Carrie, I love it, or I haven't had time to do it and I want to go back and do it. Can you set me up on it again? And finally, a friend of mine said, can't you make this into a journal so that I could just have it?
right,
So that's what inspired me to make it into a book. So I made it into a journal,
right.
to add things like, did you meditate today? How
Mm,
much water have you had? Here's the quote that goes along with the word to inspire you. And,
nice.
they can actually do the workouts. More than once and keep track of their progress. There's spot to write in there, if they made
Mm,
any improvements or their notes or whatever. So that's where that came from, and it really just came out of my own necessity of thinking. You have a problem and you figure it out. You want to share it with others. It was my own necessity of what do I do just to keep moving. I know it's not going to be probably at the level that I'm used to, and that's fine. But I just want to maintain what I have right now and to keep my body moving. And, I wanted something to mix it up.
that's awesome, that's awesome, and, I love the fact that, someone said, "Hey, I want more of it," and put it out there. So and it's on Amazon, right? It's a
Yes.
31-day workout challenge, and it's a schedule, and just go to Amazon, get the book, get inspired, get motivated, empowering words, and it's a schedule, right? And when we think about that, that's beautiful. By the way, Carrie, I'm gonna want a copy of it, but I want it signed. You
Okay.
know that, right? And by the way, I want to thank you. You're one of the few people that send me money for coffee. So thank you. And you made it a
I
large.
had
I
to. I had to.
appreciate it.
I had to make it a large from a coffee,
Yeah. So
ex-coffee addict.
You know, I'm not an addict, and I'm gonna tell you why. I drink coffee if I desire to.
Right.
So it's not like I must have a coffee. It's like I feel like having a coffee. I have a coffee. There are days I don't have any. So it's not that it controls me, because one of the greatest things that I've realized is that we do so many things habitually every
Mhm.
single day, but also you can control that, right?
Right.
So I control everything. When I realize that, oh, I'm doing that again, it's not happening. I'm going to change it today. So every day I see what I've been doing and I go, okay, let's change it up. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm a change habit artist.
Mhm. That's awesome. And it just takes asking yourself,
Yeah,
is this still how is this serving me? If it's no
right.
longer serving you, let it go.
Yeah, yeah.
Move on to the next thing.
Exactly. So like even sometimes like, you put on your left shoe first
Mhm.
and it's automatic. And then you're like, wait a minute, today I'm going to go right shoe.
Mhm.
And it's just simple things that all of a sudden that triggers that, hey, if I can do that, that was easy. What are the habits that are not helping me? right? Because
Right.
putting on your shoes is not a bad habit because, you want to wear shoes wherever you go, hopefully. Um, and if I can change that simple habit of what shoe I put on
Mhm.
first, what other habits I can change that will benefit me? Because
Right. I
maybe
like I love that because it gives your brain something else.
it gives it,
Even though you're still putting your shoes on, your brain's like, "Oh, wait, what was
yeah,
that?"
yeah, yeah. It gives you permission to change a habit because a lot of people believe that, oh, I smoke because I've been smoking my whole life, or I
Mm,
drink because it's what I do, or I do this is because it is what it is. But it's not. You need to give yourself permission to be in control
mhm.
because control is permission, right? Given
Right.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the whole reason I did the, childbirth the way I did. I didn't wanna lose control. I
Right.
wanted to make the decisions. I wanted to
Yeah.
be in charge
Yeah.
of what was going on, what was gonna happen or not happen, or, the whole process.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Kerry, this has been so much fun. And I look forward to a continued relationship with you. And, you know, anytime that you ever need me for anything, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Have an amazing rest of your
Thank
day.
you. You
All
too,
right.
Raphael.
One more thing. Let me ask you,
Yes.
what advice would you give someone right now who needs to find find fitness and find their health back?
My advice would be for them to just start. Take one step and
Mm,
just start and share with somebody that you're doing it so that you have that accountability, but just take one step.
beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you again.
You're
Enjoy.
welcome.
Have an excellent day.
Thanks, Raphael.
Right.
Take
Bye bye.
care.